Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, the Landover Legend, aka Big T, and this is another installment of the I Can't Make This Up podcast. Today we got a special guest in the building. He hails from New York. He is a budding entrepreneur who's running his own consulting firm that goes by Casberry Consulting LLC. He's a podcaster. He's a husband. Uh, he's a manager of construction programs, and at the same time, he's an all-around smart dude that I think will influence a lot of people once you hear what he got to say. And I don't want to leave out the fact that he's an author and he's dropping some gems that I think that everyone needs to pay attention to and everyone needs to be hip to, because without information, without knowledge, we can't grow as people. I want you to go ahead and give it up for Trevor Cassaberry, everybody. Yeah, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
That
man.
that was a dope intro. I like that one.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying. Something slight. I try to, work on it every day, and no one's perfect. So this is what you get. You're gonna get this raw and unfiltered. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to my audience?
What's going on, everybody? I'm Trevor Cassaberry, CEO of Cassaberry Consulting and author of the For the Hustler book series. I'm from the Bronx, New York. I'm a husband, a father of a 3-year-old girl, and a protector of my village is really, what I've been bred to be. So that's kind of, I do everything I can to kind of develop my community, whether that's online, in person, or just my household and family.
Okay, New York born and raised, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Bronx born and raised.
Bronx born and raised. Okay, you gotta make that
Yeah.
distinction when you bring up New York, right?
Where
Okay. What was it like growing up there?
um I mean, I loved it, honestly. Like, a lot of people not from the Bronx get crazy stories and stuff. Obviously there's crazy stories everywhere. But I wouldn't have traded it in. When you growing up, when you broke, you don't really realize you broke till you get older and actually got to start paying for stuff on your own. So you know, I enjoyed it. I played basketball. My mom, because she kind of was raising us, me and my older sister. She didn't really let me go out as much because it was a lot of stuff to get into in the neighborhood. So, like, the only time I got to go to friends' house, we would literally have to, like, go to each other's house, but on the way home before our moms would get home from work. So that's how, like, my first time eating Dominican food. I
Mm.
stayed at my friend's house too long, and his mom came in, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Miss Paya. I know I'll go home. And she's like, don't worry about it. You hungry? And she made some food. And I was like, I didn't know Dominican people eat chicken and rice. So, so that was like third grade. So one thing I really liked about the Bronx, it was like the block I lived on, it was mad. It was a bunch of black people, a bunch of Puerto Ricans specifically, and a bunch of West African dudes, but a lot of Muslim ones specifically. So,
Okay.
literally just taking the elevator from, I lived on the 12th floor, until till I turned like 16. So I got a different view, a different mindset of what growing up was in a box up top. But just taking the elevator up and down every day and the smells of the food coming through the elevator, you literally hitting different cultures. So,
Oh,
that's how I
okay.
learned what bacalao was, and fufu and all different types of dishes. You just like, oh, who cooking in that house? Like, that's how I learned what curry was. You just walking past doors. So that's my favorite thing about New York.
Did it always smell good though? I would think if I
No,
smell food
nope,
when I walked in the hallway, I'd be like, "What is
nope,
that?"
not every time. It was a couple of dishes that they smell very foreign to my nose. And and my wife, she's actually from Ghana, and
Okay.
even she says, like, yeah, some of them dishes smell a little crazy because she don't, just because people from the same country, people in northern Ghana eat a totally different diet than people in southern Ghana because they're not by the water and stuff like that. So same with a lot of the other West African countries. So depending on where they from in them regions, it could change what language they speak, what food they eat, what kind of cologne and stuff they wear, and all of that. So, you know, it was a lot. But yeah, it was definitely something that didn't smell that great. Bacalao, that's codfish. I ain't like the smell of that for a long time, but eventually I just got used to it. So you just know, okay, that's bacala, whatever.
Okay. So you tried it though? Like you've had it even though you didn't like it?
Oh no, if I didn't like the smell, I didn't try.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't do that. I can't do that to myself.
I feel you. You know, I was a picky eater coming up. You know, it took me 12 years to eat a cheeseburger. You know, and it's not off the
Oh, word.
smell. I just, I didn't try it when I was younger. I just thought it looked it funny or something. You know,
Right.
so as you mature, and take that step. And you try something, you never know, and then next thing you know, you fixing stuff yourself, and you putting other people on and stuff that's like that don't experience anything outside their own household or their own culture. I would have never thought that I would eat Mexican food just because I
Mm.
thought it smelled funny as a kid. And now, I travel to Chipotle, not often, but I give them a poke. You know what I'm saying? Same with Japanese food or Thai food
Word.
or some Pakistani food that I've tried that was all right, and not all, but I dibble and dabble here and there.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong though. I tried a lot of food from different cultures. It just wasn't not the ones that I didn't like the smell of. So like as far as like Ghanaian food, like jollof rice, and first time I had lamb, that was at a Senegalese restaurant. Um, what else? The first time I even had fish that had the head on it, because growing up we only got the fillets, with no
Yeah.
bones or nothing. But my wife had me eating fish with a head on them. Even my mother was like, "You ate a fish with a head on it?" But that was messing with her, and that shit is delicious. So now if I ever do go, eat fish, I'm definitely keeping the head on. So it changed my whole diet. Um, Even soup. My mom didn't make soup from scratch growing up. Now my wife, she make like peanut soup and spinach soup and stuff like that, split pea soup. So I incorporate a lot of different stuff in my diet now.
You said peanut soup?
Yeah.
That's a new one on me.
Yeah, it's like the broth is made from peanut butter. Some
Hmm.
people actually leave peanuts in it for the crunch, and some people put meat. I just do all veggies, so I just keep a bunch of chunky veggies in it. But yeah, it's spicy. Yeah, I like it. It's my favorite one out the one she made.
New York is like well, I say New York City is like a food city. You know what I'm saying? They're known for
Yeah.
having great food. How crazy was it last year when everything got shut down as far as like resources and everything?
That was I still remember it was like last year around like Easter time. I think it was like a day or two before Easter. I'm like, oh yeah, let me hurry up and go to the supermarket and get some stuff because I know people gonna be flooding the stores. And I went over there. That was the first because I was working in the beginning until they had me staying home. That was the first time I realized they had the lines going out the store was only letting a certain amount of people in the store. I was like, oh, this like a movie. I'm like, I really gotta wait in this line. So I remember the first one I got to, I walked to, I'm like, oh no, I'm not waiting. I'm not waiting with 20 people in line outside of a store. I went to my car, drove to this other drink another grocery store I go to. That drink, they what was it? They were supposed to be closed by a certain time, and it's right across the street from a project development. So some people was going in without masks on. Somebody called the police, so the police shut the place down because people was in there with no mask on. So I couldn't go there. So I didn't have to. I had to drive to Target, and pretty much I could only get like what was left. I couldn't even get no fresh vegetables because all that stuff was taken. It was like only thing left was like rotten tomatoes and old lettuce. So I had to get like frozen. I don't even really eat frozen vegetables. We had to buy a bunch of frozen vegetables, different types of snacks that we never had before. But we did a lot more cooking from scratch, that's for sure. Luckily we were home to actually get it done. Because if I was still having to go out back and forth to work every day, it would have been a lot more stressful. But because I was able to stay home, we was able to make a lot of adjust to a lot of differences that was happening.
I'm assuming you and your household doesn't really go out to restaurants that often.
Nah, not really. Like before we had my daughter, we used to go, especially like the old place we used to, the last apartment we lived in, was on the Grand Concourse in Bedford Park, and that's like a high traffic area. It's, on a hill where there's a lot of like small businesses there. So we used to eat at a lot of places over there, but now we definitely don't. Now that we got our daughter, and one thing was when we changed our diet and stopped eating meat, um, we realized a lot of stuff we cooked better than the places we was going to get it. So we was like, we just gonna stay home. Like it's no point in spending an extra $10 to get a dish, and it's going to take longer because the kitchens and restaurants will be backed up. So technically, if we cook it ourselves, it's going to come out faster. It's going to come out better, and it's going to come out cheaper. So we just realized that over time, it got to the point the restaurants didn't even seem convenient anymore unless we literally didn't have any groceries. So yeah, we don't really go out that much.
Yeah, I can say from my experience, uh, I sat down at a restaurant for the first time last month since last what
Mm.
March 16th, I think it was 2020, and it just was. I guess I don't want to say it was boring, but it ain't feel the same. I'm used to having people in the atmosphere, interacting and stuff like that. And then I felt kind of stupid walking in with a mask on and sitting down and taking it off. Like
That's what everybody say.
so I was just like, that's I don't know. It's just not the same, and
Right.
it's gonna take a while to get adjusted. But still, it's like that pause that we went through. It changed a lot of things. So now I gotta, not that I'm still thinking the same. I gotta
Mm,
change the way that I'm expect things to happen. You know.
right.
So let me ask you this: uh, what what got you into consulting?
All right. So I'll tell a story from the beginning. Basically, my senior year of college at a University of Akron in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like that February, I was playing basketball, just regular basketball in the rec center, and tore my shoulder out of place, right? And I'm 6'5", 260, right? So like I had small hopes of even if I get out of here, I could go back to like a gym that I used to play at and at least train kids on the side or something.
Mm-hmm.
But once I tore my shoulder, I'm like, man, I never had no real serious injury like this. I'm done with basketball. Like I don't even want to do this no more. And I don't like taking pain medicine, so I was in my room, and I just had to stay up that night, until I could fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it was All-Star weekend. I was watching an NBA game, and I was thinking to myself, all right, Trevor, you graduate in 3 months. You about to have like $100,000 in student loan debt you got to pay back. You're gonna have an electrical engineering degree, so that's great. And the most you about to make coming out of college is gonna be somewhere between like 60 and 70,000 if you find the right job. And I was like, how the hell are you gonna pay that student loan back? And that's all I was, thinking about. I'm just like, damn, that's crazy. The student loan more than I'm gonna make in a year. And I never really had it play in my mind. I just knew the only way I was gonna be able to pay for college was to get the student loan. And so I just sat there that night, like, okay, you literally got to learn about business and money and investing and all of that. Because if you don't, you're gonna be broke forever. Because I'm like, how the hell I'm supposed to buy a house? I didn't know nothing about mortgages. I'm just like, how the hell I'm supposed to save up $400,000 to buy a house in New York? I was like, and I'm only making 70,000. I probably only keep 20. I was like, I
Mm-hmm.
can't work 50 years to get a house. So I literally from that day, All Star Weekend of 2016, every day since then, I've been studying business, investing, and all that other stuff. But it all started from me just watching the NBA game, and I decided I'm gonna write down 10 things I would change about the NBA to make it better. And then from there, I was still up. I was like, okay, this getting more interesting. So I start adding more details to it. Eventually, I fall asleep. I dream about it. I wake up. I'm like, oh nah, let me add to it. Let me add to it. Next thing you know, it start coming together. I'm like, all right, Trevor, imagine it. Imagine this like your own pro league in the Bronx, something like that. So I'm like, all right, how many teams you gonna have? What the playoffs gonna be like? What other rule changes you gonna make? And it got to the point because my arm was still in a sling, so I could only like type a little bit. I couldn't really write. And I would go to class, and the whole time just be sitting there thinking about this basketball league that I'm writing out. So I go to class, speed walk right back to my room, go right back, be right into it. And the only wall I really hit, or the first wall I really hit, was realizing like, okay, Trevor, this was cool, but you already say you only gonna make 60,000 when you get out of here, so you're never gonna be able to pay for this gym or this league and none of this stuff. So now what? And something clicked in my head, like, Trevor, just imagine you won the lottery, or just imagine you knew somebody that had all this money. I'm like, imagine you bumped into Carmelo Anthony and told him about the idea. He was like, "Oh, word, I'll pay for it. I want to be an investor." You know what I mean? So when I got past that roadblock, it became, okay, Trevor, you gotta write this out a lot more detail. It's not just about what teams is in here and stuff. Now you got to think about how much money everything gonna cost and how much money it's gonna bring in. So like, as an engineer, you kind of get trained to, look at data, chop it up and categorize it, and then figure out an answer, in the future based off that data. So I was able to kind of use that same training and put it into a business plan, basically. So I just looked at the NBA, wrote down every single way that they make money. So, advertising, insurance, they probably got an investment portfolio for the league. But, I also, in having to write out all these things, I'm like, okay, you got to understand all these different industries essentially, because there's streams of income. So I had to look up, how do companies get sponsorships, and what's the purpose of it. And now I had to look up marketing, and then I had to look up what's the point of, how do they make money from insurance? How does this work? And realize you need a certain amount of money, a certain amount of clients to make sure, the amount of money you're bringing in, you're investing it and making enough profit that it'll always pay off more than what you got to dish out in emergencies, right? Then I had to look up the history of all the pro leagues, going all the way back to the Negro leagues. So till this day, the Negro leagues is still like as basically the biggest black-owned business that we ever had, because it had the most black employees, with all the players and all the leagues and all those cities and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So when I found that out, I'm like, damn, that's crazy. Like, who would have thought a sports league was technically the biggest black business, that was out, and it's gone right now. So, I started looking up the history of the NBA, the NFL, realizing they started as nonprofits, as like a 501c6, which, basically doesn't even exist anymore, because once people found out that they was nonprofits, they're like, y'all making too much money to be nonprofits. And it was like a political move to just say, all right, we'll pay taxes now. Like, so learning all of that stuff is like, I learned so many different industries. I knew at that point I knew more about business than a lot of my friends that had business administration and business management degrees and stuff like that, because they learned about how to manage like a store, or not so much how to, like, put together the funds and the structure and everything of a business. And long story short, when I figured out all those industries, I'm like, all right, Trevor, you don't actually need all the money to get this together. All you really need is for the business, for the team owners to own all the businesses that it will take to run the league. Mm. So if you look at like the NBA, all the different NBA team owners got a bunch of other businesses that they use. Like Mark Cuban has tech businesses that they use to like do analysis for NBA stuff. Another guy has hotels, so that's where the NBA players stay and stuff like that. So I'm like, all right, Trevor, in your league, if you needed players to eat, one of the team owners got to own the restaurant. If you need jerseys, a team owner got to own a clothing store or a clothing company. You need the jerseys wash, a team owner got to own a laundromat. And it just kept going like that. Somebody got to own a security company. Somebody got to own a media firm, media company. So I ended up writing out this whole list of businesses that's necessary. And to this day, I still got the document all typed up and everything. And when I came home from college, all of my friends, I was like, every time I link up with them, we all celebrating. I'm home now. Maybe we drinking, we smoking or something. I'd be like, yo, let me show y'all something. And I showed them this business plan and talk it out. And I lie to you not, every single time, people like, yo, this joint is fire. Yo, how you figured that out? So what we got to do with this? What we got to do with that? And the whole point came just, yo, literally just pick a business on this list. If you get it open within the next 7 to 10 years, we could literally start a pro league. You know what I mean? So and with my engineering background, I did a lot of AutoCAD. So I was able to hand sketch a drawing of like what the gym would have, other rooms and how we make money off the rooms, how big the court is, the bleachers. And, it was like a perfect storm. Right now, that's not really, especially after COVID, that's not really a dream of mine anymore. Mm-hmm. But that experience gave me that confidence and that interest and that background and even that competitive nature to start learning business. So once I got the whole business side of it understood, then I started looking into investing. So I started learning about stocks and real estate and all of that stuff. So by the time I graduated college, I had $300 in my pocket. That was it, and no job. But I had a list of the first 20 stocks that I knew I was going to buy once I did have enough money to buy stocks. So literally, I was just once I got my job, I was just waiting for $1,000 to pile up because I knew exactly what I was putting it in. Or because I spent that time, 3 months straight just studying every single day, business and investing. And you don't realize how much you can actually learn in 3 months when you do it when you do something every single day. Um, so eventually I learned a bunch. I started investing by the end of 2016. Uh, Me and my wife, we get married and we move out in 2017, like in March of 2017. We find out literally the next month she's pregnant. So a month after that, I'm just like, damn, yo, you're gonna have to start that business ASAP. You thought you had 7 to 10 years to start a league. You need money now. I'm like, listen, Trev, maybe you just need another source of income to fund the league, right? So I gotta manipulate my mind to say, all right, you just do this other thing and it'll work. And I was watching an interview. It was Dr. Boyce Watkins, because he was like the dude I was watching that was like giving me the confidence that you can start a business, but not only can you, you need to. And the fact that you watching this channel and taking in this info let me know that you want to, right? He was interviewing Andre Hatchett, which I call him my business mentor now because we speak semi often, and I ask him for some information every once in a while. And he holds me and my wife down a lot. Um, and at the time, I'm watching the interview, and Andre Hatchett is like the king of the mobile notary business. So if you look up mobile notary, you'll find his name. Um, he was talking about that business and how it's a low cost, high, and recession proof business, right?
Hmm.
On Dr. Boyce channel, and I'm like, damn, maybe that's something I could do. But in that same interview, he ends up saying in the same breath, the fastest growing business in America, as far as small businesses, is the consulting industry. So I'm like, Trevor, you could start business consulting tomorrow. You don't got to go get a license or nothing. So that was literally that same night. In the interview again, he tells people if you really want to start a business, you need to make a step towards launching it every single day. So day one, if you say you want to start a business, at least buy a domain name. So literally that night, I bought Cassaberry.com, made a Cassaberry consultant Instagram, and then it kind of been history since then. It started with business consulting. Eventually, I added on investing. Eventually, I added on negotiating. And then once we started offering all three, and I had other businesses I outsourced to, I decided, I needed a new title because it was hard to, you know, say what we did without saying so many words. And that's when I looked up different types of consulting industries, and logistics consulting was like the most accurate description of what we did, which was, find the kinks in people's supply chain operations and their daily operations to either help them, fix current issues or avoid future issues with their businesses.
Wow. And you did all this fresh out of college.
Yeah. Within the basically from May 2016, by May 2017, my business was open.
That's dope. A lot of people don't accomplish half of those things until they're, in their 40s sometimes. So I think that I don't want to say that it was like a blessing in disguise, but you getting hurt led to you, finding something great within yourself and pursuing it, and not only
Right.
pursuing it, but bringing it into reality. Like, so what motivated you? Besides, the thought of being a father and wanting to be a business owner, was it just the people that you spoke to, or the conferences you saw, or the interviews you saw, or was it just everybody around you believing in what your ability to make things happen?
So really, it was in me talking and me discussing the whole basketball league with so many people. I realized, people my age and adults, all the way up to like my mom's age, most of them didn't know anything about business. So when they see the whole business plan, they always asking, "Wow, how you know that? Oh, okay. So how you knew this? Okay, how you knew that?" And I'm like, damn, like I didn't think I know this much more than the average person about business. I thought I was the rookie, right? Because I only had 3 months in. I'm like, so what do the people that got business degrees learn? So I had to look up what they learned, and I realized they didn't learn none of the stuff I did. Like I asked one of my wife's friends that had a business admin degree, I asked her about LLCs and EINs and stuff like that. She didn't know what I was talking about. She was like, I don't know how to do none of that stuff. Like, I just got a business administration degree. So, so I'm
Wow.
like, yeah, that's it. Like, at the very least, I could start teaching people, this stuff. So, my and having them conversations, just all the questions people would ask me, I started writing them down and kind of writing the answers to it. Then I'm like, okay, Trevor, how can you actually get this info out? I'm like, most of these people not really, if they don't know this stuff, then they're likely not interested in it. So I never thought about actually putting it in the book. And I'm like, I never even read a business book because I assumed they was boring, or they talked in a language that I didn't understand, up until that time. So I didn't want to write one because like the people I needed to teach didn't read business books. So I was like, okay, maybe I could just start, making videos online and then have the people watch the videos. And then eventually I just have like longer discussions that show them how to break it down and they could just buy the video. And, that's kind of how it started. Before I even did the video thing, I had friends randomly when they, somebody would be like, yo, Trevor, I heard you know about business. I had an idea that I wanted to run by you. So when more and more people start asking me questions and, I basically was already consulting. Like one friend wanted to start like a theater company where people come do plays and stuff. So I gave him my recommendations and stuff based on my own research. And, I realized, Trevor, all you had to do was charge him $30 to sit with you and boom, you a consultant. So that's how I started because I'm not going to charge somebody less than what I already get paid in my job. I was like, you
Hmm.
just charge somebody $30 for an hour, and boom, you just start small, and as you get more confident or your clients get more progressive, you can raise your prices, and it just went little by little. Um, the first I would say the first hiccup I ran into though was that same summer I tried to do like workshops. So
Hmm.
I rented out this room in a WeWork center. My first workshop was fire. I had somebody come, have food for everybody. Like 12 people came and all of that stuff. So at the end, I think I profited like $60 after I paid for everything. But it just felt good to know I could put something together and like some strangers show up to hear me talk. And like one was a teacher, another one was a guidance counselor, her husband and stuff. So I'm like, okay, these random people, trust my word.
Hmm.
And it was good feedback. So the next one came, like 8 people came. Then the next one came, 4 people came. Then the next one came, 2 people came, and one of them was my line brother. The other one was my sister-in-law. I'm like, all right, Trevor, this is not working. and literally, I ain't selling not one more ticket after that. I was like, oh my god, this business stuff sucks. and I remember I went on my dude Bobby Stowe's radio show to promote it, and he was like, "Where's the classes at?" I was like, "Oh, they in Harlem, and other ones is in the Bronx." But the radio show was in Brooklyn, so he like, "Damn, so you don't got no workshops in Brooklyn? What are we supposed to do?" I was like, "Come to the Harlem ones," and I'm like, "Damn, Trev, that was probably the wrong answer. You should have just found a Brooklyn spot to hold a Brooklyn lesson, because clearly that means people in Brooklyn want this stuff." They
Hmm.
had a lady calling in like, yeah, well, I'm in Houston. How do I access the information? I'm like, oh my God. And that's when I realized, Trevor, don't do no more in-person workshops. Just do everything online. So I've actually been using Zoom since 2016, since that lady in Houston said, how I'm supposed to access your information.
Oh
Um,
man.
Word. So, it's just run into an obstacle, find a solution, run into an obstacle, find a solution. And it's like, basically, as long as my clients is trying to do something similar to what I was doing, I could, lead them the same way.
You brought up something interesting when you said that you was discussing EINs and everything with the
Mhm.
person you said had a business administration degree.
Yeah.
How how do you think people have that disconnect from like someone who did the research on their own and got a little experience opposed to you going to a 4 year school, and I guess you would know the basics but you won't know all the ins and out of actual business. Like Why is it isn't all that encompassed in the education that you're paying for? You know.
So I'll answer that two ways. One, I don't think many people go to college to prepare for entrepreneurship. I know that's not why I went there. When I
Mm.
first went to college, I really just wanted to get an electrical engineering degree. One day, make enough money to buy a house, get married, and have a fence. Like, the American dream kind of thing. And like every year, I realized I was further and further from that happening. Um, but like even myself, I got an electrical engineering degree, but I didn't really take the stuff as serious until I started researching business and I realized I could save money on that gym for the league if I got my professional engineering license because then I could certify my own drawings instead of hiring and paying somebody else to do it. So until then, I was just learning what I had to learn so I could get my degree and get a job and do AutoCAD. And it just would have been a regular thing, same kind of thing I did at internships, nothing special. But once I had like a goal that was attached to what I was learning, then it became like a whole drive and a plan and everything. So unless somebody already like, let's say their parents already own a business and they know they're going to take it over when they get out of college, they probably don't have a way that they feel, that they're going to implement that information while they're learning it. You know what I mean? Like, so if you can't use it while you're learning it, it's almost like the same information you did in like middle school. You just feel like this is work you got to know for later. You may or may not use it. Um, so I think that's why people that get those kind of degrees may not know that kind of stuff. And the material that they learn is really just like the same stuff they learn in economics class. It's about supply and demand, calculating production and production rates and stuff like that. Oddly enough, people that have economics degrees are the ones who end up going into logistics consulting and things of that nature. Um, and I have like a totally unique perspective on the logistics side of it because I come from an engineering background. So again, I just got a totally different mindset coming into business than somebody that would have had a business degree because I was pursuing entrepreneurship. Um, but I always said for the price that college costs, if you get a degree, whatever major you have, I think they should be teaching you how to start a business in that industry. That way you can make the money back. Because I'm like, if I get my undergrad degree, of course, if you a college, like if I'm a college, because I thought about if I had a college as a client, I'm like, all right, the way you make money is your undergrads, you make sure enough of them come back to fill up the grad school program. And then the grad school program, you make sure enough of them come back to fill up the PhD program. And then at that point, all you got to do is keep undergrads coming in and your whole school is filled. It don't work perfect like that, but that's the basic logistics of it. And I'm like, how the hell I'm supposed to come back for a master's degree if I'm not making enough money after my undergrad degree? So I'm like, why the hell they don't just have everybody learn how to start a business? Y'all going to access for alumni donations and all of that shit anyway. So like, it just baffled me. So that's a question I got. Like, why don't colleges just teach how to start a business in every industry that you got to major in? But you know,
I think that'll take away the cogs they need for the machine to keep going. You know,
true.
so
But
it
again, not I don't feel like you should be going to college to get uh a job that your college degree didn't prepare you for. Like what college degree really prepare you to be an administrative worker? You know what I mean? Like, but I think a part of it is just you got to compete with older people that already got 20 years or 15 years in the industry. So the only thing you could do to kind of give yourself any kind of leverage is say I got a degree. Other than that, I don't really see why a lot of jobs have degrees. Because I wrote in my book, For the Hustler Volume One of the quotes in there is a college degree is not an asset, it's a certification. And I compare it to like my lifeguard certification and OSHA certifications and stuff like that. How it just give you eligibility for a certain job. An asset you really should be able to sell it, leverage money, and borrow against it and stuff like that. You can't sell your degree. So that's my view.
man, oh man, oh man, my man speaking facts right now. I can't even lie about that. So for the hustler, what inspired you to write that book, and did you see yourself becoming an author?
No, I never saw myself becoming an author. Growing up, I wasn't a big reader, but I did like to write a lot. It was just the kind of stuff I read would be like articles and manuals as opposed to like books and fiction books and biographies. I wasn't really into that. But my wife, she's a publishing consultant. So
Mm-hmm.
after we got married and found out, she was pregnant in April, I think in July of that same year, she got fired. And oddly enough, she was an administrative worker at an engineering firm downtown. So she got fired while she 5 months pregnant. And then out of nowhere, it's just like we went from a household of 100K to a household of 60K. So it went from us living with, buying art and putting it on the wall because we live in good to like, damn, which bill I'm not going to pay this month. So, and it was real. It was just a real big shift. And then with her being pregnant, it was like we got to prepare for after you have the baby. Are you going to go back to work or what? And so, anybody that live in New York knows that childcare, like babysitting and daycare and all that stuff is like it's like paying a second rent. Like I know somebody that owned a daycare and they was like, yeah, they friends and family price was 1,200 a month. So I
Mm-hmm.
was just like, how the hell I'm supposed to pay this? Like I pay $1,400 a month for the one bedroom we live in the Bronx at that. Like it ain't even no lavish apartment. It's just the ceiling's high enough that I couldn't touch it. And then so basically after she had the baby, she took her senior thesis, which was a collection of poems because she got an English degree, and she expanded on it and turned it into a book called Back to Kukrensimi, which is the city that she's from in Ghana. And it's like all the poetry kind of talked about her experience as a Ghanaian American who was essentially raised in Harlem, but in a traditional household, and like all the conflicts that she had to go through. And growing up as a black woman, but also having the African tag on it, and the nuances there. And later on, I got so frustrated because my prices had to go up because I was getting better at consulting. Um, but a lot of my clients or my audience that I really was going after originally, they either one didn't have the money to pay my higher prices, or two, they weren't ready to like, it's like if you paying a lot of money after a certain point, it's because you already own a business and you're trying to fix a certain problem or reach a certain goal. So somebody that don't know much about business and just want to learn the basics, not going to pay no $80 an hour just to learn the basics. Whether it's worth that or not, they just don't have it. So I had to figure out a way to still one get the information to my initial audience, which is people who don't really have the money or the financial literacy, but also find a way to monetize it too. Because I can't work for free. If that's the case, I might as well just go to my job. And eventually my wife just looked at me like, why don't you just write a book then? And I'm just like, I don't know. I started trying to come up with excuses, but like there was just like no reason not to write a book. And so at that point, I was like, yeah, but like business books is boring. My audience don't read business books. She's like, all right, you're not a regular business person. Like you're not the rich dad, poor dad guy. You're not a economics textbook writer. You're a black dude from the Bronx. Write a business book like a black dude from the Bronx. And I was like, all right, I'll think about it. And I watched a lot of battle rap. So as I'm thinking about it, we watching, Sue Surf versus who was it like? Sue Surf versus Charlie Clips or something like that, or maybe it was
Mm-hmm.
him versus Tay Rock or something. But in listening to that, I'm like, yo, Trev, this could be your way of playing with that. Like you ain't you're not a rapper, but like you could use that same kind of vibe, the same way like Loaded Lux could teach a lesson in rap. You could teach business and talking the way that you talk. So that's what I did with the book. So what I did, I made eventually it became, I put in 50 quotes because my wife already had the format ready because again, she a publishing consultant, so this is what she do for her clients. And so we decided on what she calls a motivational quote book. So it's 50 quotes, a passage with each quote, and then a blank page behind each passage so you can write down whatever thoughts you have. And pretty much whenever you write a book like that, the whole point is for somebody at point A to, achieve a specific goal by the end of point B. So with that one, it was all about teaching people how to identify the existing skill set and their existing resources, and giving them different ways that they can monetize it. And I was like, I could literally write this book, sell it for $20, and then now I'm good, and I don't actually have to meet with people, and technically they don't even got to pay me $30 an hour. They paying me $20 for life, just for the book forever. And that's kind of how it went. The one thing I added to it, because again, my engineer mind and then my business mindset was just, how many ways can I use this book to either make money or market myself, and I was like, all right, I got my hands so people know I'm Black and stuff like that. The way it's sitting, like, I'll show you the cover, like, the way it's sitting, like, you get a different vibe. This don't give you, rich dad, poor dad vibes, right?
Yeah.
So I had it like that, and I was like, all right. The title of the book is For the Hustler, so you could really hit your target right there, right? And I got my face on the back cover. So literally, somebody that I knew from like summer camp in middle school stopped me on the train because he saw me reading the book, and he saw my face on the back cover and remembered my face. He was like, "Yo, you're Trevor?" So I'm like, "Okay, this definitely works." Got my Instagram and everything going there, but I'm like, "Trevor, you missing something that makes the book pop." And that's when I decided, all right, you got 50 quotes. How can you use this to help other businesses? Because that's what you do. And I was like, I'm in the table of contents, I'm gonna take out the, where it would say quote 1, page 1, quote 2, page 3. I'm gonna take out the part where it say quote 1, quote 2, and I'm gonna put different Black businesses there. And I was like, the way it'll work, because I had to like ask my wife, my aunts, my sister, my nieces, different questions and stuff, just to see how it would work logistically. And it was like, if I put the name of the business there, then people don't really know how to go buy something from the business or look it up, right? So I was like, I gotta put the website there. And then I'm like, I don't want to put the website and a description of what they do, because then if you give somebody, if I say, oh, this is a weave company and they sell wigs, now if you read in the book, you just like, yeah, I ain't going to that website. But if I just put, blackbeauty.com, you don't know what it is. You like, shit, I'm gonna click it, let's see. And then you like, okay, weave, all right, do I know somebody that needs this? Let me share it. Because you can hit it right on your phone.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm only gonna put the website in the table of contents and on the quote page. And I was like, and this is my way of literally giving free promotion to 50 Black businesses for life. And I was like, I don't even gotta sell the ad space, even though I could. I'm like, just give it away for free, and you just build the relationship with 50 Black businesses, easy. And boom, it worked. And next thing I know, people was loving the book. I got a cousin who was locked up. I sent him the book. The book was so good, he was showing it to a younger dude that he said was in prison with him, that had dreams of designing clothes and stuff when he got out. So he was like, "Yo, read this book. My cousin wrote it. Yada yada yada." And he told me like, pretty much where he was at, what everybody would do is put their pictures up on the wall with all their friends and stuff that was out. And when people come to your cell, you could like show proof of who you was and who you know. So he was like, once he would show people the book and be like, yeah, my cousin wrote this. They'd be like, your cousin wrote it? He'd be like, come to my cell, I'll show you the pictures and everything. So with that, he built a status just off this. So all the dudes, you gotta think, all the dudes in prison that's thinking about business and got their head on straight, he attracting them, as opposed to the dudes that's in the craziest stuff.
Yeah.
And the dude that he let borrow the book ended up getting moved to a new prison and left off with his book. He stole the book. So he told me, I'm like, oh, how you gonna let him skirt off with your book like that? He was like, yo, he better not be at the next spot. I'm like, yo, chill. I'm gonna send you a new copy. I'm gonna just send you 2 copies. I was like, keep one for yourself and the other one you lend out. He was like, nah, send me 2. I ain't lending nothing out. Nobody can say. So I sent him the 2 new copies. And he would tell me about what was going on in the prison with the books. He was like, people would be coming to his cell. Like, it would be dudes that leave the library, go straight to his cell, like, yo, let me read the book. He's like, all right, but to read my book, you gotta let me hold your book you just got from the library. So now he using my book to leverage himself to read more books. I'm like, yo, you basically hustling in there. I know this book going to spark in there. Keep sharing it with people. Keep sharing it. One day he calls me. He's like, yo, you wouldn't believe we in here in Sing Sing the COs and the prisoners is all debating over one of the quotes in my book that said, good credit won't solve low income. And he said, you wouldn't believe, like CEOs that never speak to them would be like, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. You need good credit because this, that. He was like, another CEO would be like, actually, my credit not good, but I make more money and I could do this, that. And then the prisoners getting into it. And it was just hilarious hearing that, you know, the discussions that they used to have used to be sports and whatever they used to do before they got locked up. And now you got a bunch of different dudes serving a bunch of time in there talking about business and credit and investing and stuff like that. So, you know, those stories was my favorite stories about the book, but that's what made me write the second one and got me writing the third one now, just because I know the information is valuable no matter what you know, what timeline in terms of your business journey or your entrepreneurship journey you're in.
Okay. So before I get back into that, Cassidy versus Hitman.
Son, I didn't even watch it, man. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to watch the Cassidy battle. And Hitman, he got some battles that I like, but I'm not the hugest Hitman fan personally. So I knew the face off. I knew it was gonna be more exciting than the battle. So I watched the face off, but I didn't watch the battle. And I got a bunch of my friends that did watch it, and they was like, "Trevor, you ain't miss it. That was an hour I'm not getting back."
Me personally, not that I'm picking sides. I think Cassidy took that one, but it's always up for debate. It all depends on how
He
you
definitely
feel
won the
about.
face off.
Yeah. So it was crazy as usual, and I didn't see that coming. But then again, 2021 has brought a lot to us that we never expected to see. So who knows
Right,
what's next?
for
So
sure.
focus on the problems you will solve, not the money you will make. Tell me
Mhm.
about that.
Yeah, so I don't even remember what I put in the passage, but I know for a fact when I wrote the quote, it was like, if you start focusing on the money you're gonna make, you're gonna be one stressed out entrepreneur. Because in the beginning, the money is just not coming consistently, and it's definitely not coming fast. If it do come fast, it's gonna be inconsistent like a mug. So,
Hmm.
but if you focus on the problems that you're fixing, like the same way, I wanted to sell 1,000 books in the first year. I sold 100. I wasn't mad because I had people buying the book, that was emailing me and texting me, telling me, how fire the book is, and they sending it to other people, and my cousin in prison, people stealing the book from him and stuff like that. So it's like when you focus on the value you bring in people and the problems that you solving, you always continue getting better. So you solve one problem, you end up finding a new problem that comes after that. So for me, it was like, people don't know enough about business, I'm gonna teach them about business. Okay, now people don't know how to fund a business, so it's like, all right, I'm gonna teach you how you could just, what businesses you could start for a low price, and then you could use that money to fund the business that you want to do before. And it's like they don't know how to write the business plan, I showed them how to write the business plan. So piece by piece going forward, because I was focused on the problem I'm solving, I stayed focused, and I wasn't annoyed at the fact that the money was coming slow. Because as you keep solving problems, the money is guaranteed to come. And it's this one dude named, I know on Instagram his name is Sleepers for Suckers, but he had a quote that said, "When you solve big problems, you get big paychecks," or something like that. And
Hmm.
it was like, as you keep going, solve it. Same thing as when you were able to solve a lot of problems, you're able to get a lot of paychecks. So, that's my whole thing. Focus on solving more problems and the money's bound to come. You focus on the money first, you're not going to keep looking for problems to solve.
Well, based off of everything you told me, and you know, you putting out information and the responses you getting, it's almost like you was like meant to be a teacher opposed to, you know, a student. Now you absorb information and you put, what I'm saying, you utilize that to make things grow. Did you ever think about that, or did anybody ever approach you and think that, maybe you should, be a teacher, not just a consultant?
So it's funny you say that. So again, growing up, I didn't grow up with my father, so I had like a real issue with authority. Like I felt like most
Mm.
people that was being authoritative was flexing their power.
You and
Oftentimes
me
they
both.
were, right. And oftentimes they were, but sometimes they weren't, and I was just in my feelings. And then when you big, like when I graduated fifth grade, I was already 5'6". So people, it was grown men that thought I was grown men, like pressing me about stuff. It's like, yo, I'm the book bag on my back is from, I got middle school notes in my bag, dude. Like, what's wrong with you? So even playing basketball, dudes be mad that I'm hitting them too hard. It's just like, dog, I'm 14. So growing up, I had an issue with authority. So I got into it with a lot of my teachers. The only teachers I always, really had a lot of a good rapport with was always the math teachers, because they didn't really get a chance to flex their power. Either the answer was right or it was wrong. They couldn't dance around, with examples and stuff like that. There was no time that I felt like they could be cheating me on a test. It's just like either it's the right answer or the wrong answer. So I always said growing up I would never be a teacher just because I didn't like the whole teaching system and yada yada yada. But as I get deeper and deeper into consulting, I get more and more like nonprofits that'll reach out or have me do a seminar. And recently, I'm working on a deal now, basically with a school in Harlem, to implement financial literacy into their math lesson plans. I'm working with two teachers on my own to put together the Further Hustler lesson plans, where we use content from the book to teach reading, writing, and math. And we use like real world problems. So like the math problems would be stuff like it'll be a word problem, but instead of it being, Mike goes to the supermarket and has 35 watermelons and the watermelons cost 250. It's more like your parents sent you to the store to get groceries to make arroz con pollo, and then we give them the recipe for it. So it's like
Hmm.
now we hitting the black students and the Spanish students, right? And they, everybody knows like the first time your mother sent you to the store, at least where I'm from, first
Hmm.
time your mother sent you to the store to get the groceries yourself, and you better get it right. You better not come back missing them, right? So we put the list of the problem. We like, you got to get each one, but it's like real world stuff. So if you need 2 boxes of rice, now you got to double how much it costs. When it's time to get the chicken, it tell you how much it is per pound. So now you got to find out how much it costs, how much meat you need and things of that nature. And using real world problems to actually apply the math, because the one thing you hear from a lot of people is they hate math, and the main reason they hate it is like they say, oh, I never use it. I never use a squared plus b squared plus equals c squared. And it's like, because I'm an engineer, I do use that stuff, but I could find ways to apply algebra to real life. So I basically am doing more teaching right now, and starting to work with more schools and working with teachers as we speak. So yes, I do see myself doing teaching now.
the the Pythagorean theorem is a word that I learned and haven't applied since I left. I there are no questions on tests that asks you the name of the three boats that came over from England back in the 1400s. Like, this was stupid stuff that we all remember, or at least most of us do. That is
Right.
useless. It is honestly useless. You know what I'm saying? Like,
The Pythagorean theorem is not useless though. Engineers need that.
no, 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 no. I said for people like me. You know what
Oh,
I'm saying? So when you in certain fields, I'm saying, like, for
yeah.
me, I was good at math. I was great at math. I was taking trigonometry in like the eighth grade. I
Mm,
was going to Maryland University and helping tutor freshmen there. During summer programs for, like, advanced college credits and stuff like that.
mm,
But like you, I had a problem with teachers, and teachers always, for me, they always assumed I had an attitude because I had a very stoic demeanor, and I wasn't like a happy-go-lucky people person.
mm.
So if I didn't fit in with their little box of what they think a kid should be, they always, what I'm saying, assume the worst. Oh, he's a
Right.
troublemaker. Oh, he has an attitude and stuff like that. So that's how I lost respect for most of my teachers. And then when I started playing football and they seen me, laying dudes out, they really didn't want that smoke. So it was what it was. Plus, they kind of let football players do whatever they want. Especially when we got to pull out of class and skip or whatever. We ain't like cheat and get like grades or nothing like that, but
Mhm.
we had a little leverage, not too much though.
Right. Yeah. I felt like New York City basketball, unless you like some top player in the city, you don't really get no extra because everybody play basketball. So unless you drop 30 last game, don't no teacher even really care. Like I've seen the nicest kid on my high school team not be able to play because the gym teacher was being petty and gave him a 55 on a report card.
Mm,
And it's just
mm.
like, yo, if his grades is not good, the only way he getting into college is playing in this game. Did you think about that? Like, that's how I used to think growing up. It's like, you 35 pulling these stunts on a 15-year-old, and you telling us how the grade that we get in your English class affects the rest of our life. And I'm just like, no, it don't. Like, no, it doesn't. But some people just used to flex that power. But again, until you find certain teachers and stuff like that that you do have a good rapport with, I think it's obvious or a no brainer that you're either just gonna fall in line or have a real hard time. There's no real middle ground until you find that teacher you really like.
Yeah, everyone uh, learns at their own place or own pace, and sometimes it takes a particular person and the way they instruct for you to actually learn or want to learn.
Right. For me,
So
it was my French teacher, Miss Lucas Saint Fort. I had this big white dude teaching French my freshman year, and only reason I really wanted to learn French was when I got to high school. My whole point, my mindset was I don't want to go to the NBA. I wanted to go play basketball overseas.
mhm.
So I wanted to play in like Italy or whatever. And I was like, oh, France. Okay, they got basketball in France. I'll take French class. And I just was not picking it up. I don't know what it was about the way he taught, but it was another teacher, Saint Lucas Saint Fort, a Haitian dude, and he used to do French tutoring on Saturdays. So it didn't matter if you was in his class or the other class, because he was the head of the French department. You could go to the Saturday tutoring. You didn't have to sign up or nothing. You just show up and walk in. So I went, and what he did, he was like, if you're struggling in French, it's because you don't believe in the French. So you need French everything. So when you walk in, he only playing music in French and he won't turn it off for the whole tutoring session. He got French bread and French cheese and French cakes and stuff like that in the class. And he only is like he was like, if you want my attention, you have to say Monsieur Saint Fort. So it's like from there, you just like that's the one word you never gonna forget. It's Monsieur. And then it's like little by little, it's all right, you want to use the bathroom, you gotta say this. And because it's like you really have to use the bathroom, like please, please, he'll have you sitting there dancing, trying not to pee himself, and he'll be like, oh, are you trying to say this? Then you say, he'll be like, all right, go to the bathroom. So that like the way he used it, and like now I had to learn French because it affected my real life at that point. I started to like it, and I was hungry on them Saturday mornings, so I used to be killing that cheese and bread. But I went from failing French to being one of the top French students in the school. I graduated like a 92 average in French, all because of that dude.
That's what's up.
Word,
That's
like
yeah. I
that was my first time. Like, okay, now I see how this school stuff works.
Yeah, I used to speak fluent Latin. I took Latin for what was it? I think it was 6 years, 7 years.
Oh
And
wow.
when they changed the school district zones, I ended up going to a school that didn't have Latin and they only had
Hmm.
Spanish. And I got D's both years. I took my foreign language, and I'm just like, whatever. Like I took completely different, almost
Right.
different hemisphere when it came to languages, and it never
Word.
matched up. Like I got the basics, never could
Right.
speak it. You know what I'm saying? Not even conversational Spanish, and it just was like I was just like, nah, this ain't gonna work. And it was what it was after that. Like I retained some of the words, like I recognize, especially when I watched like Greek and mythological movies and stuff like that. But I can't speak it fluent like I used to back in the day.
Yeah. High school, I learned. At one point, I was real good at Spanish because playing basketball, I started playing with more Dominican kids, and they played in this real high Dominican area called Washington Heights in Manhattan. So that was my introduction to that area. So all the Dominican kids I hung out with all played basketball. Maybe some played baseball too, but like we all knew each other for playing basketball. So being out there, I started, talking to more Dominican girls and stuff like that. So back then, that's when like Sidekicks was in and stuff like that. So you'll
Mm-hmm.
be on AIM late night. So I did like had Dominican girls on AIM, like they'd be teaching me Spanish on AIM and shit like that. So that's how I got good at Spanish, and then I would use it like playing basketball with the Spanish kids. They would start speaking in Spanish on the court, so I couldn't hear what they were saying. So like they'll be like, "Yo, set a screen," but they saying it in Spanish. I'm thinking they just saying somebody's name. I'm getting hung up in screens and stuff. So I started learning, the basketball slang in Spanish at that point. So it got to the point when the basketball park by our school, because I went to A. Philip Randall. That's on like 135th on the west side of Harlem. There's a park not too far away where it's like mostly Dominican dudes in that park that play. One day, one of them was like, they forgot that, I wasn't Dominican. So they tell me come set a screen, but they said it in Spanish, and I came to go set it, and they realized, oh, yo, this the only black dude that can speak Spanish. Next thing you know, they choose me on their team every time. And they like every time it was mad Spanish dudes versus mad black dudes. If I wasn't on the black dudes team, I'd be the one black dude on the Spanish guys team. and I'm falling right in line. They speak in Spanish. I'm running plays with them. And it got to the point, one dude, I forget his name, but he used to see me out there, and he used to tell his people like, no, pick him up. He speaks Spanish, and we don't have him. He gonna start telling people what plays we running. Because I start telling people, yo, he cutting back door just based on what they were saying. So, I got into Spanish real good. And then once I went to college in Vermont, that was it. It was I think 6 Spanish people on the campus. So I wasn't speaking Spanish no more after that.
Wow. Vermont though? What made you go there?
um I wanted to get an engineering degree, and I went to play college basketball. So I knew I wasn't going D1. There were a few D3. There was quite a few D3 schools that wanted me to come for a workout, but I was in a like performing arts program in high school. I was in a step team. So my junior and senior year, I was captain of the step team. So the guy that ran that program, he used to try to get everybody to go to liberal arts schools,
Mm-hmm.
because his whole thing was black students always got the lowest reading and writing scores. So we need to send them to schools that got, more reading and writing classes. It sounds good in theory, but I was a student that excelled at math and science since I was a kid. Like my sister, she's 6 years older than me. She taught me algebra when I was in the 4th grade. So literally, I've been getting A's in math since 3rd grade. Um, so I went to a liberal arts school like he was talking about. I just went to one where I got a chance to talk to the coach before I went there. He said I could get a tryout. And I knew they had an engineering program, and I knew I didn't want to stay in New York because I used to always get in trouble growing up, either in school or at home. So I'm like, I knew in 6th grade, because I got on like a 3-month punishment, and that was like the longest punishment I had at that point. I was like, I'm not going to high school in the Bronx, and I'm not going to college in New York because I don't want to be coming home getting in trouble. And I stuck to my guns. I went to high school in Harlem, and I went to school. I was like, no school is, I'm not applying to no college that's within 6 hours. And I went to Vermont, and that was it. It was a good time, but the engineering program sucked. So I transferred.
Wow. I don't even think I've ever been to Vermont, Connecticut, Boston, New York, uh, Nevada, Ohio. I don't think I've ever been to that far. No, oh no, I take that back. I went to Canada. That's
Right,
no,
right.
that's probably yeah, that is
Yeah.
more north. So
Yeah,
yeah.
Vermont is if you're not into snowboarding, skiing, uh, maple syrup, or or I think a lot of the black people I used to meet there is like they'll be from New York, and they got in trouble when they was younger and somehow got shipped out to Vermont. Like
Wow.
honestly, not anybody used to play basketball and they wasn't a student there, but they was black. Like they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'm from Philly." It's like, "How the hell you got to Vermont?" Well, I got in trouble when I was younger. I was like, "That is not the full story. Like how you how you got to Vermont is what I asked."
No bull.
But word, but yeah, Vermont, and then Ohio, which is I don't know why. I mean, when I transferred to Ohio, it was the engineering program, I needed to transfer because the second half of the program, I was supposed to go to University of Vermont to finish up, and they they sent me a piece of mail in July, like July 1st or July 2nd, saying they had more applicants than expected and more transfer students than expected for the engineering program. So because of the excess competition, I've been waitlisted. I'm like, how the hell I get waitlisted? And I already been taking classes there since my first year in college. Like I already have a GPA on your campus. They're like, yeah, but technically you weren't a University of Vermont student. You were a St. Michael's student in your program. They were like, but you could go back to St. Mike's and repeat some of the classes to raise your GPA and then reapply next. I'm like, hold on. So y'all telling me I could either stay on this wait list and wait for somebody to not come and then y'all tell me I'm good, or go back to the school I passed on my classes and like take some of them C classes over to try and get an A, because that's the only way it's going to actually help my GPA. And most of those C classes were not my engineering classes. They were like, English class and stuff like that I just didn't care about because I was there for engineering. Like I paid attention in physics. I didn't care about, the history class.
Mm.
And so I was like, after that, I'm transferring. Little did I know, by July, all the SUNY and CUNY applications are closed. So I had to go back to another school out the state. And I'm like, damn, it's already July. I don't got no money. I didn't have a job yet. I ended up getting a job till like the end of July that summer. And I just had to look for, basically, I went on collegeboard.com, looked for the best engineering school that had a rolling application and was within the 8 hours. And it was between University of Akron, University of Ohio, and West Virginia University. And I was like, University of Ohio, that was a no. And West Virginia, I never forget when I was in Vermont, I used to always say this is probably the least diverse state in America. And and we did the research because Vermont is 97% white, but it's actually like the fourth least diverse. The number one least diverse was West Virginia. So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely not going to University of West Virginia. So that's why I chose Akron.
Wow. Yeah, I went through West Virginia a couple times and pulled up to a gas station and I asked for directions to a place and swear to God, a guy comes out in overalls, grease on his hands, and says, "What are you doing out here?" I was like, "Hey man, you have a nice day." I got in my truck and I left because
Yo,
I felt all type with deliverance vibes and some more stuff. I just was like, "Nah, I gotta go.
word.
I gotta
I'm
go."
like, and I didn't have a car or nothing. I'm from New York, so it's like you don't get a car until you leave or until you graduate college. So I'm not about to go to West Virginia and be on foot walking somewhere. That's not happening.
No bull. So before we wrap things up, man, won't you tell me about your podcast?
Yeah, so me and my wife, we started the Cassaberry podcast, where basically she is able to give off her book and writing and publishing expertise, and I'm able to give off my business, investing, and logistics expertise in a way that applies to people's real life. So in the beginning, it was all like intro kind of videos. Right now, just because it was hard to find the time, we've been doing stuff on IG where it's like, she'll literally ask me a question that her or one of her followers came up with about logistics. Like, why does every business need a logistics consultant? And I'll answer it in a video. Then me and my followers will have a publishing question for her, like why should people self-publish instead of traditional publish? And she'll answer. So for all kind of information like that, it'll be at castpodcast.com, or you could go to no, it's at castpodcast.com, or you could go to IG at Cast Podcast and see everything. But yeah, that's what we talk about. Eventually, we'll start getting more personal. We're talking about marriage and parenting. But we're always gonna find a way to apply it to generating an income, because that's one thing everybody trying to do that's in America. I know for a fact is we all need a new stream of income. Even if you got $250,000, the people I know that make $250,000 trying to make more just as much as everybody that make $50,000. So the same way we learn to apply schoolwork to our regular life, my wife teaches people how to apply books to their regular life. So her last book is called "Why Every Pregnant Woman Should Write a Book," and it talks about the the financial reasons, the therapeutic reasons, the mental reasons, and everything else. Statistics and data on what women go through, specifically Black women, in terms of childbirth and hospitals. And then with my books, for the Hustler Volume One, again, teaches people how to identify their skill set and monetize it. For the Hustler Volume Two, which is right here, um, teaches people how to generate income through stocks, real estate, and equity investing. And it also debunks some investment myths. So some of the ones in there are, is marriage a good investment for the primary breadwinner? Is not donating to panhandlers considered selfish or greedy? Should you start in real estate, stocks, or equity, stuff like that? Um, should you buy a single family home or multi-family home? And right now I'm writing For the Hustler Volume 3, which again will be incorporated into the podcast, which will teach people how to generate income by negotiating. So it'll teach how to generate income, like raising your income as an employee by negotiating for either a promotion or more higher pay. As a consumer, so if you want to buy stuff for a lower rate, how to negotiate as a merchant, so sell stuff to the best consumer or for the best rate. And then lastly, as an agent or a closer, or what I call a negotiation consultant, where you find a business that needs a service or product, you find another business or freelancer that provides that product, but you also have a product of your own that you can add into that offer to bring value to the end customer. And the main reason I teach that is because you may have a friend that rap and he need a video shot, and you got another friend that shoot rap videos. You put them together, now they exchange your money. Maybe you make some money in the middle, maybe not, and that's it. They may have a long lasting career forever, but now that you get nothing. But if it's like you had the proper product to put in with that video, that video director service or something like that. Now every time that business gives off or sells that video director service, you have a product that's bundled up in there where you're making money too, in perpetuity. So now you don't have to make every sale yourself. So that's like my twist on it from an engineer perspective that I put in that book. But for those who don't have the book or don't have the book yet, you can learn more about it at castpodcast.com.
Okay, that's what's up, man. That was a breath of knowledge. I think that a lot of people uh, they probably don't hear every day, and I'll say it's an 85% chance that that's true, and that's why I created this platform to have those real conversations and talk about things and people that you don't see every day on information that's not on CNN, that's not on Fox News, that's not on MTV or the Shade Room or World Star Hip Hop stuff that can affect your life outside
Mhm.
of what the president and the government got going on. So stuff that you can
Right,
control. You know what I'm saying? You can't control what the people in power do, but you can control the everything that you got going on in your life and your circumstances just by educating yourself and preparing yourself and making things better for you and yours and create something for your legacies.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah, man, this has been dope. And after I do the wrap up, we're gonna have to talk about your consulting services for myself.
Oh, for sure. I had some stuff that I want to talk to you afterwards about too. So for sure.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. And I just want to say this conversation has been very enlightening. It's been very very smooth, and I want to say that I can't wait for it to drop and get people responses. I got a lot of people that pay attention to my show, and they always be like, "Hey man, how'd you meet this person? How you meet that person?" And I say, man, I either do it through my show or through my social media. People see my
Right,
content and. They're intrigued. They hit me up, or I see their content. I hit them up, and we converse, and we make it happen that way. So luckily we was able to make that happen all through 2020's BS and 2021's enlightening.
Word. Yeah, and I
So
appreciate you for having me on again.
hey man, we're gonna do this again for sure.
For sure.
You
With
know what I'm
the
saying?
book three come, I'm gonna have book three out for Halloween. So I'll probably come back around then just to talk more about the book. And I definitely got to send you a copy in advance before I come out.
Oh, that'll work. I was just about to say, I got to get a physical copy. I do
Yeah,
ebooks, but I'm gonna have to get a physical copy. You know what I'm saying? Just
yeah.
so I
I
can
I
have.
knew the ebook would get to you right then. The Amazon be taking a long time to get my books out. They be playing.
Hey, hey, you might want to look into getting that distribution, get adding that to the repertoire. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man, it's in the works. Believe me, with my wife in the publishing game, we talk about a lot. But one thing we haven't found is like a black printing press, and that's mainly because the books are bought online a lot. So
Hmm.
really, the printing press will only be a distribution side. They wouldn't really be a manufacturer so much. Um, but we gonna figure it out. 'Cause we've been talking to a few people about it, but we're gonna figure it out. And when we do, basically everybody I know that don't got a book out, me and my wife will be coming for your heads, telling you all the reasons you need the right one.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So, hey man, why don't you let the people know where they can find you at?
Again, my name is Trevor Cassaberry, CEO of Cassaberry Consulting, author of the For the Hustler book series. You can get my books in pre-order for the Hustler Volume 3 at hustlerbooks.com. Again, that's hustlerbooks.com. You can find my consulting services, whether you need to speak about business, investing, or negotiating, or just how to get into logistics consulting in general. You can reach us at cassaberry.com. That it'll say at the top you one click away from a free consultation. If you want to speak to me for free, you get a quick like 15, 30 minutes just to figure out where you at, what goal you're looking for, and kind of point you in the right direction. We could do that. And at the end, we could figure out whether you need to speak with me directly, in a logistics assessment, or if you need to work with one of my partners, whether it's a virtual assistant or a marketing person or my wife with publishing. So it's like you meet with me, but we going to send you to the person you need, whether it's in 15 minutes or in 2 hours. Um, if you do need the 2 hour logistics consultation, I'll tell you now, between now and June 2nd, we have it for half off, uh, because we really want people to understand the concept of customer acquisition, customer retention, and customer creation. So customer acquisition is basically your regular product. Like mine would be, come buy my book, right? Customer retention is, okay, now that you bought my book, you said you wanted to get into investing, join my investment club because the dudes over there know more about stocks and crypto than I do. And I'm the one who wrote the book on it, right?
Hmm.
And then customer acquisition is like from a logistics perspective, you have to think, imagine everybody that is interested in your product. Like imagine you sold oranges. Everybody in the world that likes oranges already saw your oranges, already know what they taste like, and they either buying them or they not. Either like them or they don't. You got two options. Either you go to the people who don't like your oranges and try to convince them to like them, or you go to the people who never had an orange in their life, don't know what it is, and you put it in their hand. So in terms of doing that, that's what we call customer creation, where we find other businesses who, typically don't sell products like ours, and we bundle a product that we have in with what they already have. So imagine there was somebody who never liked oranges, but they got coconuts. So you work with a coconut company, and it's like every coconut you sell, add one of these oranges in with it. And now all these people that usually like coconuts, they try the orange. They're like, "Oh, this orange is good. Where you get this from?" And now you got new customers in your audience base. So we use that same thing with our clients, whether it's storefronts or e-commerce businesses, and that's really what really sets us apart. Because from there, we're able to scale the businesses much faster. So if you're interested in doing anything like that with your business, which you should be, you schedule it between now and June 2nd, and you get it for half off.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard him. That was Trevor Cassaberry. Hey man, like I said, this has been dope. And until next time, I've been your host, the Land of a Legend, aka Big T. And this is another installment of the I Can't Make This Up podcast. I can't, with a K, make this up podcast. You can find me everywhere podcasts are available. Also on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. And until next time, peace.
This is Phase Ed Music.